It is of great importance and it is essential at this point of time that we take a close look, have a close conversation, a better national understanding and a better holistic intervention on what is happening on the ground in Manipur. There is a deep concern that as we observe developments, the solution at the get-go, priority number one, has to ensure safety, life and liberty, for which the Indian Army is now conducting patrols, conducting surveillance, has UAVs monitoring the situation and removing unarmed civilians from areas of unrest which have been the target of arson and attacks. This is not a happy situation because we should not be having to rescue Indians from India. We shouldn't be thinking about having to remove people who come from Assam back to Assam because they are feeling unsafe in Manipur. Every part of the country should be as safe for life and liberty as any other part. So while that might be the operationally pragmatic reality that we are having to pursue, there is a larger question which we now need to address. Let us make now an attempt to address it. I'm sure many of our more learned broadcasters who are watching this episode understand what we are being told the issue is. That there was a particular ruling by a high court which sought the implementation of a tribal community as an ST status, that there are others who disagree with that, that in the implementation or non-implementation or slow implementation, the both sides have found unhappy consequences. As we speak, on a different cause, on a different issue, troubling scenes have also been seen in Shillong. Within all of this, there is always the larger security dimension that genuine issues, grievances of locals are misused by foreign actors to make hay and create a crisis, especially in the northeast, by infusing lumpen elements into what otherwise would be protests for a cause. Joining us on the broadcast is Professor Amar. He is the former VC of Manipur University. We also have Thangling Sang, who is the Information Secretary of the Indigenous Tribal Leaders Forum. Chitra Ayantam is joining us. She is from the Imphal Free Press. She is a senior journalist. Major General Sudhakarji is with us and RVS Mani is also joining us on the broadcast. Let me quickly try to get Chitraji into this conversation. Chitraji, what is the situation right now as we speak?
One caveat, I'm no longer with the Imphal Free Press. I used to be the editor.
Yes, former editor. Yes. Thank you for the caveat. Yes.
And a freelance journalist. Right now, I'm joining from Delhi, but very much connected to what's happening on the ground. If you look at the situation right now, things are yet to be normal. In fact, today the scene of action was at the Imphal airport, the Tulihal airport in Imphal, where a lot of people suddenly, took to their vehicles and they were trying to get out of Manipur. These are not just people from, say, other states, but Manipuris who want to get out because they are worried and they feel unsafe. So there was a lot of security arrangements done in and around Imphal airport. So that's number one. And that says how much of unease and disquiet is there despite all that is being done in Manipur.
Okay, so, just hold your thought. I'm coming straight back to you. Thangling Singh ji, what is your information about the situation on the ground right now? Mr. Thangling Singh, can you hear me, sir? I believe he can't hear us. So let me take that thought to Professor Amar. Professor Amar, what is your information on the situation on the ground right now?
Well, I'm rather not disturbed by the information because it has been improving to some extent since yesterday.
Okay.
But I'm really disturbed by the fact that such a thing has been allowed to happen in Manipur in the present context. My concern is rather with the quality of governance or rather absence of governance. I'll rather look at it. I'll keep coming on this issue. Should I continue?
Yes, sir, please. We are listening to you, please.
Well, the point is this. Well, during the last about a decade or so, what we have been observing very closely, I've been in university for nearly half a century or so. Like, I have had the opportunity of observing the various groups, ethnicities trying to evolve given the reality and the limitations of Manipur. And during the last a decade and little over, what we see is that the relative performance of Kuki students have been improving. This speaks volumes. This speaks volumes. And along with that, what we see is rising aspirations of the Kuki youth. And this is exactly a scenario where the government should have got into the picture and how to go about correlate their aspirations and correlate their aspirations with the other ethnic groups in Manipur. Well, this is the longer term picture. But recently, what has been happening is that, well, we know how China, well, all our neighbors are very, very friendly with China. And what has been happening is that after Aung San Suu Kyi's removal, Aung San Suu Kyi's party is getting removed from government, what we see is that, well, borders absolutely porous. And what we keep hearing is that the insurgent groups, I'm not talking about the Kuki common people, I'm talking about the insurgent elements among the Kukis, have been trying to connect among themselves, this side and Myanmar side, and establish, well, a more robust linkage with the Chinese forces. And this definitely must have fire further imagination of their...
Okay, so just hold your thought for a second, sir. Yes.
This is important.
Yes, so you are suggesting, and I think you're being very clear on this, if I've heard you correctly, that the tribal students there, which you just mentioned, of one ethnic group, the Kuki students, you're saying that their performances have been increased, there is a genuine cause of aspiration and a failure to meet those aspirations. So there is a issue of governance which we need to look at very seriously. And the second is a security risk of lumpen elements, be it some who are being coming from across the border, who are also then trying to exacerbate the crisis. This I want to understand. Mr. Thangleng Singh is joining us on the broadcast on this. Mr. Thangleng Singh, thank you for taking out the time. Just give us a quick update on what you see of the situation on the ground right now, sir.
I see this is the everything is the force from the village people. Amity community has the first advantage doing the. At this, actually, the Kuki community has we must peace do the mass rally. So then, because we had we are the we demand that is the peace rally. Is that we are the Kuki communities need we need by the peace rally under even all Kuki people area is the tribal area is the government encounter and hill area Article 379, but is that they can do the forest reserve. And
okay. Let me take it a step at a time, sir, because it'll become confusing otherwise. What is the situation right now? Are things calmer than they were in the past 48 hours? Are things calmer right now?
Now citizen is I don't know what citizen is the very bad because the government the CM under CM side is they have the events of lengthening the terrorist people. They have the fighting the first the Kuki people. They are fighting first the Kuki people.
Okay.
Now the situation is not good. The situation is very bad right now.
Okay. You're saying the situation is not good. Okay, yes. But has the violence stopped at least after the army has come in?
They are already, every time they have the coming, but we can, now is currently we have to stop it and both sides.
Okay, what's the one or two things you would like to see done urgently, sir?
Sorry, sir?
What are the one or two things you would now like to see urgently?
Yeah, sure. They are always time they have to coming to the attack to the by Kuki. From the Imphal Valley, they have to coming attack the Kuki people.
Okay. So clearly, you're reflective of current and long-standing frustrations. Let's try to address them. Let me get back to Chitraji. Chitraji, now what is the understanding? Because obviously it's a complex problem. There are genuine long-standing issues which need resolved. Then there are security considerations also, which are a major complicating factor. How do we bifurcate, disaggregate the two, ma'am?
Okay, two things. First is the situation right now is that yes, if we do a comparative of what has been happening in the past 2 days and today, things are a little bit stabilizing. If you look at the comparative, but there are still firing happening in the outlying areas, and the police and the army on one side and unknown assailants on the other. And it would be absolutely wrong to say that people from the valley are going to the hills and attacking, because number one, there has to be proof of what is happening. We have information of 14 companies of the army being coming from different parts of the country till yesterday, and 20 companies I think would have joined till now, 20 more. So that makes it for 34 companies. This is over and above the existing army presence. So if there is an allegation saying that people from the valley are being allowed to go out of the valley and shoot on people, then that is a major crisis that even look at whether federalism in India is under attack, and if it is so, what has been the kind of intelligence failure that has been there. We also need to look at the fact that time and again the Manipur police has and the track record of Manipur police is not a good one. I can tell you that from my years of journalism in Manipur, but to say that Manipur police is just serving one community is wrong, because if you look at the top leadership in the Manipur police right now, it is not the Meiteis who are there. Please look at that, and I would say when we are talking on a larger issue, let's address the larger issues that are cutting across different communities. Let us not make wild allegations, because number one, internet is cut off. And there is a lot of rumor mongering that is happening. Number two, we are now at the time when it's only the national media that is now able to inform people from Manipur and other parts of the country about what is happening. And if we continue this narrative and say that one community is arming up, one community is the aggressor, and one community is the victim, then it's very problematic.
No. That's not what we should be implying anywhere either. Okay.
Exactly. That's where I'm saying.
Okay. So what we need to address is logical.
Yes.
The priority is life and liberty needs to be preserved.
Yes, exactly.
The solution is not to evacuate people who are residents of India from parts of India and send them elsewhere. They become internally displaced people. That's not the solution.
Exactly.
So we need to understand the security risk, which is also present. Let's not run away from it. And we need to understand the real long-standing issues and concerns which we need to address, which I think the former Vice Chancellor just pointed out. Okay, now let me get the security analyst into this conversation. General Sudhakar, now it's a complex situation, because we do know that there are elements out there who are trying to misutilize, infiltrate and create a security crisis where they know that there are long-standing divisive issues. The solution to that, of course, is to disaggregate the two, deal with the long-standing issues in a more efficacious manner, but also understand the security infiltration. How do we do that?
Rishabh, good evening. Thank you for getting me to your show. Compliments to you. You are one of the very few anchors who does sifting between the chaff and the wheat very intelligently. I must compliment you. And it's a very important issue you have raised. To respond to your question, let me also take this opportunity to compliment all the previous co-panelists, esteemed, very eminent panelists. I think I've known the erstwhile Chief Editor Chitra, as also the Professor Amar. During my service of more than 7 years in Northeast, I have served for 3 years at least in the Manipur Valley. So having said that, I look at the problem. Firstly, Rishabh, we need to identify the problem correctly. This is a border state. This has got quite an extended frontier with the Myanmar. There is an external factor which I attribute, and also it assumes greater importance. There is an internal factor. Within the internal factor, there are core issues, multiple core issues. So firstly, the external factor. Because to me, no matter how and what kind of discussion we carry out, I personally feel 2023 and even after this, the Chinese strategic encirclement of India is going to be an ongoing phenomenon. So China is not feeling comfortable because India is rising. So it will do anything and everything. As long as military junta is there in Myanmar, they will create chaos and
But
will
General Sudhakar, this is not news, right? So something that you and I already know, everybody watching the telecast already knows. There has been SCO meeting, we've had a terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir, there has been a Naxal attack in Dantewada, and there are not only issues in Manipur, there are issues happening in Shillong as we speak. So could there be a linkage? But we know this. After knowing this, what can we do about it, sir?
Yeah, I'm coming to that. First and foremost thing is, how do we engage with the military junta in Myanmar? How do we bring back or restore democracy? That has to be our focus of the Minister of External Affairs, or our foreign policy has to be formulated accordingly. Coming on to the internal issue, because at the end of the day, the charity begins at home. I look at, unless we put a house in order, the external factors will continue to, take advantage and exploit. So what is the problem? The problem in the Manipur Valley is that Meitei has been demanding to be included in the tribal list, the schedule list. Why are they not been included? There is a greater issue, which I am sure the Chitra will bear me out. She has been writing extensive articles on this, as also the Professor Amar has been heard on a number of occasions. You see, the greater issue is, I think, ultimately it is reflecting on the land. There is a limited land available, for which there is a fight between Kukis and the Meitei. Meitei being the larger majority, not being included, and also the employment opportunities. Development is taking place for sure, but the employment opportunities are far and few. And there are also reservation issues. So the core issues, if we can identify in the internal factor, I think we should be able to bring two factions, two rival factions, Kukis and Meitei, onto a dialogue table.
But disaggregating it is very, very fundamentally important in the immediate term. Okay, let me get RVS Money into this. RVS Money, it is not news. Okay, the insurgency has been going on from across the border for several decades. Since I would say when I was in school, we had made great progress in reducing it. To the point that there has been ceasefire, the anti-insurgency operations had been stopped. What do we do now?
See, basically, I suggest a 3 or 4 pronged strategy stepwise. Take control of the situation, ground level, ensure security and safety to all citizens of India in that area, not only in Manipur, but also where it is spreading. Because we know that external forces are there, also incurring, plus the internal disaffection, as one of our senior panelists had pointed out, rising aspirations and all. Rising aspirations, yes, it is a fact, but at the same time, rising opportunities are also there, which perhaps are not being getting communicated at the end level, at the lowest denominator level. There you have to penetrate, but prior to that, first get the issue settled by security, make it secure, make it safe for the citizens of the country, bring out a panel of eminent citizens like Chitraji is there, Amar Saab is there, everybody. Bring them to establish communication channels, let them also take on board. And while it is simply not about clearing disaffection, it is also educating them on the, maybe go for camps, more, because it has, for at least few years, the entire communication at the lowest level, the government should talk to the people at the level so that they don't get astray, they don't get attracted by paths of the anti-India elements operating in the northeast, not just in Manipur, not just in Nagaland. So there is a lot of anti-India forces acting over there, and
so RVS Money, what do we do about them? Do we now have to reopen counter-insurgency operations? Do we have to do better border patrolling? What do we do now?
On the short-term counter-insurgency, better border patrolling. But in the larger term, we have to be talking to the lowest common denominator through our communication channel. Whether it is DAVP does it, whether Information Department of State Government does it, the benefits of the development has to be told to them, so that just keep them under leash.
No, they have to be implemented and felt also. So there, I've never seen this much effort and attention that has been put on the northeast state in a very, very long period of time.
Agreed.
But in the end, that doesn't mean all problems are solved either. So let me get General Sudhakar back into this quickly. General Sudhakar, do we need to do something on the border now to at least eliminate one variable which might be infiltrating a genuine cause?
Absolutely. Thank you, Rishabh. I don't know how you foresee that. I was very keen to intervene and suggest. Yes, I tend to agree. The external factor has to be stopped forthwith.
I'll disagree on
Okay,
that.
coming to you immediately on that, sir. Let him finish.
Okay.
General Sudhakar.
What I would say, the refugees who are coming in, the official records, I was checking up from our South Block people. They said it is close to 52,000. The refugees who have come in. But my calculation, I'm also doing research on the subject. It is touching almost close to 75,000. Majority of them are in Mizoram. Some of them have come to New Delhi, but quite a few of them are in Imphal. And they, more or less, the linkages with Kuki Nagas have been established. This is one issue. Therefore, there is a requirement to actually go in for a grid kind of, I won't say counter infiltration grid to be established in an effective manner. The Assam Rifle, the military which has been pulled back, and the Armed Forces Special Power Act, selectively it has been actually withdrawn. We need to revisit the whole issue.
Okay.
For some time.
Okay. So then it becomes a complicated question, because then we have to ask: are we taking one step forward, two steps back? It's more difficult. Let's give Professor Amar a chance to respond. Then I'll get Chitraji and wind up there. Professor Amar.
The biggest problem, and which has been the hindrance to any kind of better things coming up in the Northeast, is the absence of policy of anything. Does India have a Myanmar policy other than the one from Delhi? Do we have a Myanmar policy from the perspective of Northeast? Northeast has been part and parcel part of Saudis and the Myanmar thing long before India became such a huge country. And still India doesn't have a policy of Myanmar, number one. Number two, do we have a policy of property rights? We have been emphasizing on this. Let us be very clear. Land issue is not an easy thing. And when it comes to land issue, we necessarily have to link it with the demographic or population policy. Do we have a population policy? Do we have a demographic policy? Do we have a land policy?
Okay. All right. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Professor Amar, what I'm going to do is I'm making a notation of everything you're saying, sir. And these are all large subjects.
One very important thing.
Finish your point.
Forget ST and all that. The cookies, more than any other group, more than Meiteis and Nagas, have been looking for a little kind. They have been mainly migrants, and the situation has come to a stage that they now to settle down. It is actually this way. Where are our protected forests?
Okay, all right. Okay, so on the issue of
stolen.
On the issue of having okay, I'm sorry to interject, sir. Before I run out of time, I want to give Chitraji a chance. Chitraji, quick interjection. I'm making a note of these issues. I promise you tomorrow I will come back and we will take them up individually so that we can discuss them individually at length. I'm making that commitment on air to you, ma'am. We'll come back tomorrow. But quick last interjection from you.
No, I think it was very important to hear what the professor was saying. But if I may just add, looking at the foreign hand is something that I think the administration or the central forces are very happy to do. But unfortunately, I have to point out the fact that this is much an implosion of internal affairs. And this is not the first time. And unfortunately, this won't be the last time. If you look at Manipur, the history of Manipur, the conflict situation, the extrapolation between different ethnic identities, this is not the first time. And it has been happening, and everything boils down to land. And when we say land, and what Professor was saying is exactly right, there has to be a demographic policy. If there is a population, for instance, and I'm sure you know about the geopolitics, the geography of Manipur.
Yes.
80% of the land is in the hills, and 20% of the total land area is in the valley. Now the majority of the population is all concentrated in the valley. Now the majority population in the majority space, we cannot buy land in the hills because the hills have to be protected. The minority tribes have to be protected. Now what happens is the minority community can buy land from us. But once they buy the land, they cannot sell it to us. When we want to buy it back, we cannot buy it back until and unless it goes to them. So number one, this does not mean that the violence that is happening cannot be condoned on this basis, okay? But when we are saying that, when we look at, say, the representation of MPs, we divide it as, okay, how many MPs serve from Northeast India? There are just 22 because it's according to the size of the country, the population of the country. So that way we have...
Okay. Now, slow down. Okay, just slow down. I'm making pointers.
Let me just complete. There is this, when we look at what has contributed to it, is also the fact that people are very comfortable with giving narratives of tribal and anti-tribal. What is tribal? We are an indigenous community, and our forefathers at some point of time decided to convert into Hinduism, and that made us a part of the majority. But if we look at genealogy, if we look at our...
Ma'am, I need to have a longer conversation with you on this. So I made a note on Myanmar policy, on land ownership, border anti-infiltration, hill tracks policy and political representation. I will come back and have extended conversations on all these 5 subjects. Gentlemen, I'm out of time. I will, Sudhakarji, 10 seconds. General, 10 seconds, sir. I'm out of time.
Rishabh, local capacity building also.
Okay. General Sudhakar, 10 seconds, sir.
Don't lose sight of the fact of narcotics as per the global...
Exactly.
Okay, I'm making a note of that as well, sir. All of these are complex issues. I can't discuss all of them in half an hour. I promise you, one by one, however long it takes, we will come back. I'll invite you all. I'll do extended interviews with the professor and Chitraji also, so that we can better understand this. I myself will try to understand this better.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.